Khordae Syndor is going to wreak havoc on opposing offenses next year, as Vandy's defense is also going to be dynamic.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. On today's episode, we're going to discuss the Vandyboys' chances of postseason play after a crucial series versus Kentucky, especially after dropping game one. That's a little bit of a concern there. How do the newcomers affect the defense's identity? Well, I know one thing. Khordae Syndor is going to wreak havoc on opposing offenses next year. Syndor has been one of the most talked about defenders in spring practice this year. His rushing ability will bring a dynamic element to this defensive front and will allow Clark Lea to get creative in how he calls the defenses, right? So, and here's why. Because when you have a guy like that off the edge, okay, just imagine having him rush in like that. Now, he's an energy guy too, so like he brings a lot of juice to that defense. He kind of brings kind of everything together, kind of makes those guys, elevates those guys around him, and allows them to play a lot better. A lot more elevated and a lot more better than they actually are, probably. So that element alone gives you a chance to produce over there on defense, but also with what he can do quickness wise, power wise, like he's kind of like that defensive end outside linebacker. So like if they were to go into a forefront, he would probably be the guy to come down, put his hand in the dirt, or he can play as a stand-up guy when they go odd front type of deal. The other is the star position, which is Randon Fontenette, which is also like if they get in some of these loaded box looks, like Fontenette would be down on the line to the field side and Syndor would probably be to the boundary side if the ball is on a particular hash. But his rushing ability just alone, like he was like there wasn't an offensive lineman that could handle him in spring practice. There wasn't a whole lot of situations to where, you know, I think every practice report you read, and if I were able to go to every practice, I would probably have seen this with my own two eyes. But like every practice report I read was Khordae Syndor this, Khordae Syndor that, Khordae Syndor, they couldn't block him. He was the juice guy on defense. Like he is the dude, man. He is like, he's getting after it. His rushing ability is getting after it. They can get creative. And the reason I use that word dynamic, okay, I defined it in yesterday's episode, right? Dynamic doesn't talk about just the talent that he brings. He does have dynamic talent because he can do multiple things. But the dynamic element he brings to the defense is allowing Clark Lea to bring different pressures, to bring more creative pressures where he's moving guys around, twisting, stunning, slanting, whatever. He's able to do that a little more. And that's when his defenses were at its best at Notre Dame, was when they were on the move. He was a more aggressive play caller because he had guys coming off the edge that could really kind of get after the passer and even be a force in the run game as well. It's kind of that fourth defensive lineman that's coming from the edge. And it really kind of stops your outside zone stuff. So if you have a team that's running heavy outside zone to the field, they may actually put him to the field side and have him set the edge there. So that's the dynamic stuff that I'm talking about. That's the dynamic element I'm talking about, because it allows guys to move. It allows things to kind of flow in place. It allows Langston Patterson and Prince Colley at the inside backer spots to kind of play A to B to C and just kind of scrape slowly for anything inside out. He locks it down out there, and they don't have to be in a hurry to get down, or these safeties don't have to be in a hurry to get down. So I really think Khordae Syndor is going to be, out of all the newcomers, he's probably going to be the most important piece to that, because he, like, his pass rushing ability, his edge setting ability, and his ability to stop the perimeter run is going to is going to be what I think ignites this defense a little bit and makes this defense go. And if he can do that on a consistent basis, this defense will be pretty good. If he can't for some reason, or if he gets injured, then you might see a defense that's going to struggle a little bit. So keep an eye out on that. Khordae Syndor is really, really, really good. So, but he's not the only newcomers, because like Clark Lea is really racked up in the portal. I mean, Clark Lea's done a tremendous job there building portal guys, especially in the secondary. Some of the high school guys that he's gotten, the early enrollees, have been really good. Simeon Bolware at one of those linebacker spots as well, kind of in a reserve role, is going to be very important. But like the secondary guys are going to be amazing. And, you know, it starts honestly with Dante Carter coming out of high school. You know, I saw a picture of him the other day. Strength and conditioning program's working. Let's just put it that way. Like, he's going to be a special dude. He's going to contribute, right? And with a team full of veteran guys and guys that they pulled out of the portal, let's just say that he's going to have a chance, okay? And it's going to be really, really good. And I think you're going to see, what they have in store for that. So it's going to be interesting to say, nonetheless. But the high school guys, I think out of all the high school guys, I think Dante Carter will probably be the most impactful on that defense I'm going to say the free safety spot. Okay. Your other safeties, incumbent CJ Taylor, I think this secondary was built around him. I think a lot of this defense was built around him and Langston Patterson. To be quite honest, everybody else kind of just fits in around them. What I love from the transfer portal, especially in the defensive backfield, I think they did a really good job at getting corners. Okay. And you have Marlon Jones, and you have Mark Davis, you have Colby Taylor, all coming in as transfers. I think you had Martell Height that made a lot of great plays in spring practice. You have, some other guys that are fighting for, Tyson Russell, I think, is fighting for some playing time as well. It's going to be a real competitive group over there, and there's going to be a lot of one-on-ones to kind of dole out playing time. But like, out of all the newcomers, though, I think you see, I think Mark Davis is going to make an impact there as he rolls in. Colby Taylor, I think, will make an impact. He's another big guy. I think him and Mark Davis are two big bodies out there that you just can't ignore. Like, if you throw Colby Taylor out there, you're gonna look at him and you're like, I don't know if I want to throw over there. Like, your appetite for throwing over there is probably not going to be very, very tall or very, very strong. Marlon Jones comes in. He's probably, out of all the transfers, he's one of the more accomplished ones. Like, he was all Big Sky conference player. He was from Eastern Washington. They're a playoff team. That's a really good program out there in FCS, and he comes in ready to make some plays at the highest level in the SEC. He's going to test his abilities. I guess he has NFL aspirations, so he wanted to jump to Vanderbilt, which, I mean, that stuff's going to happen now with the transfer portal the way it is. You're going to see a lot of these FCS guys, these all-conference guys, jump up to go to these bigger schools to get that tape for the NFL. But Marlon Jones is no short on talent, and I think you're going to see that coming out during fall. Fall camp's going to be extremely competitive, and it's going to be really, really good. The cornerback position is going to be really competitive. Safety is going to be really competitive. Like, I'm seeing DeRicky Wright's name still listed as a safety. Is he back? I think. I hope he's back. I've seen a lot of things that I've seen. He's not really gotten rid of a lot of Vanderbilt stuff on his profiles. Like, I don't know. He's like listed at Texas A&M, but he's not like officially signed. I don't know. Like, I don't know what the deal is with that. But if he's back for whatever reason, I think he's phenomenal. I don't know if he's back or not. I hope he is. But CJ Taylor, I think, is going to be the MVP of this defense. Like, you're going to see a lot of great things within this group, and you're going to see these guys really kind of ball out. Maurice Hampton, I'm excited about that one, LSU. But all these guys are going to really play well with each other. Another name that people aren't necessarily talking about is Zaylen Wood. He comes in as defensive end from MTSU. I think he's going to play. I a 4 technique. I think if they go odd front, you could see him and Khordae Syndor play 4 techniques. I think you could see him play a 4 technique and Khordae Syndor standing up beside him. I think you see a lot of different combinations there. So that's going to be a lot of fun as well. And you're going to see a lot of different combinations there. You're going to see some creativity, like I said, and Randon Fontenette's going to be kind of that box safety guy, which they call star. So I'm looking forward to it. But is it going to, like, the guiding question here is all these newcomers and what they do, is that going to affect the overall identity? Like I know Clark Lea had an identity and an idea of what he wants to do defensively, scheme wise. Are these newcomers and some of these latest portal additions, are they going to change that? Is it going to affect what he wants to do? Is it going to affect the defensive identity? Well, we're going to talk about that next. All right, this episode is brought to you by Gametime. Did you know that Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA? Well, now you do. It makes getting playoff tickets even faster and easier, too. So prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. So when you're looking through the app, you're scrolling through and you want to go to an NBA game, make sure you look at these things and see which one is your priority. Like, which one do you look for the most? Do you look for last minute deals? Like, is that something that really kind of motivates you to buy? Well, you save up to 60% off buying last minute for any sport, concert, comedy, theater, whatever you want to go to. They have flash deals, exclusive in-app deals. I know that fires a lot of people up on select seats ahead of a game or event. They have zone deals where you choose the section, Gametime chooses the seats. All-in pricing, I know a lot of people love that. Toggling this feature gives you the total up front, so there's no surprise fees at checkout. Seat views, I love this one because I think it's important to see what you're going to see from your seat, and you can see it in the app before you even get a chance. So you can be like, nah, I don't like this seat, I'm going to go to another section. That's what you're getting there. You're also getting the lowest price guarantee, or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference, meaning if you find a lower price somewhere else, Gametime will refund you. All right, Gametime ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app and create an account and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN? Are you tired of all that screaming and you have to turn your TV down? Well, you should make the switch to Locked On Sports Today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So the newcomers on defense, we talked about who they are, what names to watch out for, and just kind of how they're going to affect it. But like the overall identity of the defense, what is it going to be? And do the newcomers really affect it all that much? Is it, do they make it better, worse, different? Like what's the deal there? Okay. And that's the question. Like anytime you get new players, especially when you get new players, like you get these new corners in that might change some of your coverage schemes, things like that, some specifics. But I think the overall identity is not going to change. I think he's still going to be aggressive. I think it's going to be physical, run first, get after the quarterback type scheme, right? Where you're going to have some movement, you're going to have guys getting after it. Well, I I don't think that changes very much, but how they get there, I think changes. How some of the alignments change. I think some of the positions might be tweaked a little bit. I think where guys line up and tendencies and things like that. I think defensively, your identity kind of varies with who you're playing against. It varies more with your personnel than it does on offense. Like, okay, well, I've got I think Khordae Syndor is better with his hand down, so we're going to put him at 4 technique. We'll put Zaylen Wood at the other 4 technique, and then we're gonna walk down somebody, or we're gonna put an extra bandit in the game. There's things that happen more with personnel than it does on offense. Offense is like schemes, and like you got guys that fit different roles, and it is a puzzle, like I've been saying. But like on defense, it's really a puzzle. Like I need this piece here, this piece here, this piece here. It'll fit there, but maybe I need it here type situation. Like with Khordae Syndor, with Randon Fontenette, like where does he fit? Like how does his abilities as a run stopper affect how close he plays to the ball? Like, is he going to play closer to the ball now that you get some new guys, like you get Maurice Hampton in? Is that gonna push him up a little bit more versus before, where he would maybe be more back? Or is the identity going to be affected by the team that they're playing? Like, let's say Missouri comes in, like you've got to factor for Luther Burden, which you don't have to factor for Schroeder anymore, because he is now gone. He's graduated, so that'll be good. But or Schrader, or whatever his name is, Schroeder, something. He was a nightmare. Like how much, like with this defense, how much does the opposing offense and what they do and trying to limit what they do, how does that affect the identity? Does the overall identity stay the same and you just make subtle changes based on who you're playing? Is it going to be one of those, you kind of overhaul the defense each week based on who you're playing? Like if you're playing Alabama, who's going to be, well, they might be a little bit more open this year with Kalen DeBoer, but like you get in there against Kentucky and they're just bam, 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 just hammering you, at the line of scrimmage, versus the next week you play Texas, who's all over the place. Like, is your identity going to change because of that? Or are you just making adjustments and your identity is your identity? Like what is happening there? Like I think with Clark Lea, I think, my prediction, this is just my prediction, this is based on speculation because I'm not in the meeting rooms, I'm not at practice, so I really don't know what the identity is. I can only speculate as to what it's going to be. And I think it's going to be because of, you still, even doing well in the portal, even doing as well as they've done in the portal, I still think you have a relatively limited roster. You're really thin at inside. You're pretty thin at inside linebacker, actually, but you have a limited roster. Okay, still, and so I think that's going to limit a lot of your abilities to be able to kind of do more overhaul type work. So I think it's going to be kind of tweak this coverage here, tweak that coverage here. Like, all right, Randon, this week you're going to be tight to the line of scrimmage, and then the next week against Texas, you're going to be, we're going to play a 3 safety shell. Against Alabama, we're going to play 1 high with you kind of off the ball a little bit, playing in a slot receiver, like, different things, based on what teams are doing. I think you're going to see minor adjustments, and just overall, like your philosophy overall is going to be the same. Like you're going to attack each team the same. You're going to move, you're going to blitz, you're going to be hyper aggressive, and you're going to be hyper physical. Like those are the things that I wonder is what's going to happen. And those are the things I presume are going to happen because you have a limited roster. You have some newcomers they're still newcomers at the end of the day. So like whether they're experts or not, I don't think it matters. It's still going to be, they're still going to have kind of a tough time getting involved in that a little bit. So that's just something to kind of speculate about going into the summer. That'll be a storyline in fall camp, just kind of how the defense shapes out as they gear up for Virginia Tech. Like that's a it's a hell of a game to start with, because that's a team that is going to test you early and often. And they have a lot of guys coming back. They're a veteran team. And so you're going to have to figure out what your identity is pretty much immediately. So, but it's nice to kind of see, it's nice to kind of be able to identify some guys like Khordae Syndor, who's just been difficult for the offense. You have guys like Dante Carter, who's going to contribute, Randon Fontenette, who's good. I think CJ Taylor leading the group as the return guy. He's kind of the emotional leader. He is the leader. I think he should be the captain if he's not already. But it's going to be fun, dude. It's going to be fun to watch this. It's going to be fun to watch this defense. It's going to be fun to see how they progress throughout the season. It's going to be fun to see just them kind of take over the identity of the team. Like, they're going to be the heart of the team. They're going to have to be. And I think that's what's going to save Clark Lea's job. So for the Vandyboys, as we switch over to new sports, they're just making it tougher and tougher on themselves. They can't score runs. They can't score. They can't hit for power. They can't hit consistently. Even though Jonathan Vastine led off with a homer, they can't generate much. And that's gonna, like, if they get swept by Kentucky, their postseason is done. They got to win these next two. We'll talk about it next. All right, FanDuel. Talking about FanDuel. I love FanDuel, by the way, just so you know. And here's why, okay? Because it's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. This is the good part. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. You heard me right. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, parlays, whatever. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel is America's number one sportsbook. All right, welcome back. Third and final segment. We wrap this thing up. We're going to talk a little Vandyboys, but before we do that, thank you for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. Thank you for subscribing. We're moving up the charts, folks, and it's because of y'all. Y'all are crushing it, man, and y'all are doing great. And continue to spread the word and continue to grow this thing. Shout out to all of my everydayers. Sideline Vandy is somebody you should follow at SSN Vandy. That's a good follow. He's starting to become a friend of the show there. So I'm really excited about this. And you're going to SSN _Vanderbilt is the handle. So make sure you go and follow that. But Vandyboys, man, it's getting interesting. I don't know how else to describe it. Okay. It's getting interesting. Okay. They have I haven't seen a team fall apart like that. I've never seen a Tim Corbin team fall apart like that. I've never seen it. And is it concerning? Well, at this point, yes. I think it is. Because before you could chalk it up as, okay, they're playing on the road, there's some factors, it's baseball, they're gonna struggle every once in a while. Like, you could probably make up a myriad of excuses, right? Well, those things have kept on happening. And it's concerning because you're watching them and they can't score. They can't score runs. I'm at a loss because it just the power's just not there. They're not driving the ball. It doesn't seem like they have a whole lot of a plate discipline. It doesn't seem like their approach to the plate's very good right now. It seems like they either don't know what they want to do, or it almost seems like they're playing almost afraid a little bit, like afraid to make a mistake because they know that this is important. And so first thing they have to do is relax, Second thing they have to do is in college baseball, okay? This is where it's similar to high school baseball. This is where it's less similar to the MLB. I mean, even in the MLB to some degree. But like if you take a pitcher deep into account, you're almost guaranteeing yourself to get on base, whether you're getting walked or you're getting a meat pitch. Okay. So like you have to force the pitcher to come to you in college baseball. Okay. You have to force these pitchers to come into the zone. Okay. Because if a pitcher can bust the outside part of the plate and get you to chase, like Alan Espinal, and I think in one of the bats that I was watching, like pitch, he looked completely silly because he was just flailing at this out, this slider that was breaking across the outside corner. Probably wouldn't have been called strike, but he kind of just flailed at it, and I was just like, what are we doing? Like, what is our plan when we get up to the plate is my thing. And if you don't take if you don't take these guys deep into counts, like if you can get a pitcher to 3-2, you're probably going to get walked. If you can jump on early fastballs, because pitchers like to get ahead in the count. So they're going to probably put you a fastball in their first pitch most of the time because they want it's a big time need as a pitcher to get ahead in the count because the stats go way in their favor when they get ahead in the count. They get you 0-1, they get you 0-2. Now they're controlling you. They can limit their pitches, they can gain confidence, and they can keep you off balance. And even if you do hit the ball, you're not going to hit it hard because they are in control. But if you can get them a couple times, if you can jump on a lot of times I see pitchers make mistakes. Charlie Condon will make them pay. Good hitters will make pitchers pay when they leave the ball up in the zone and they put it across the plate, which they're often apt to do early in the count because they want to get ahead of the count. They want you because a lot of pitchers know if you're going to take first pitch, they can groove you a fastball because they know you're not sitting on it, and they know you're not going to pounce on it and pelt it, towards South America, where the announcer's like, "This guy needs a visa to catch this ball." That's a major league reference for you guys, but I have a hard time with what Vandy's doing at the plate because it just doesn't. It's not very disciplined. It's like they don't know what they want to hit. And then they end up flailing at pitches that they can't hit or shouldn't be flailing at or whatever. So it ends up being a very, very non-productive at bat because of that. And that puts a lot of strain on the pitching staff because now the pitching staff has got to, they can't go and win 1-0 ball games night in and night out. Every time a pitcher takes them out, they know that they have to pitch a perfect game or they're going to lose. That's not a good feeling if you're a pitcher. And with the injuries that has been sustained and the things that the adversity that struck the pitching staff, they need help. It was a once deep pitching staff and they need help. They need run support. And if they don't get it, they're going to fall apart at some point. Pitching always does. If they don't get good run support, it always does. And, and good run support, they don't have to put up 12, 13, 14 runs every game. But I think if you put up 6 or 7, like in college baseball, I think that's very doable. Like most teams on the winning side are putting up so that, if you can put up 6 and 7 every once in a while, double digits, so that every once in a while you can also win that 1-0 game, right? The 1-0 every once in a while win is great. That's where pitching comes in handy. When the bats slow down for a game or two, they can win those and pick up the slack. But when the bats are on fire and you don't really need the pitching, they can relax, work on their stuff, and be just fine. So it's all complementary. And over these next two games, they lose 10-5 in game one, which is not good. Give up some home runs. Pitching was not good, and it was kind of a disaster almost. So I think they got to win these next two to get into a regional. So that's going to be fun, but they've got to have better discipline at the plate. Better discipline, more of a plan. And if they have a plan, I don't know what it is. And I'll be honest with you, if somebody wants to say something about that, I just don't know what their plan is. I think they're panicking a little bit. And I'm not like trying to be overly critical, but like that's what I'm seeing. And if they just do what they do, they're good enough. I'm not saying they're not good enough. I'm not saying they suck. They suck right now. They just don't have any discipline at the plate. It's rough. So anyway, well, that's going to do it for us here on the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. We'll catch up. We'll catch back up with you on Monday. Stay tuned for any news over the weekend. We'll see you back here next week, and we'll get you into the weekend. So I hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here Monday on the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Until then, anchor down.